Our main objective right now is to satisfy all requirements in the country of Nicaragua. But we will be producing more than can be consumed here locally, and consequently we plan to sell into CPAC, which is a large backbone grid that runs from Guatemala through Panama. The company is also actively, as part of our strategy to expand, looking at projects in other countries. As an example, we have work underway at the present time in Chile, in Costa Rica on a hydro project, and throughout other parts of the Caribbean basin, where we would look for acquisitions to expand our production in other geographic settings.
As countries dealing with energy crises like Nicaragua look more and more to cleaner ways to produce their energy, one can see why companies like Polaris feel confident about the greening of the world's energy economy.
Carbon credit is a tradable instrument like any other commodity or bond. That is a unit that is certified by the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change that is 1 ton of carbon dioxide reduced from the project from which it comes.
When we started the project in 2004, none of us had any idea really what carbon credits were. We were informed to a large extent by one of our lenders, by Standard Bank. And also at that time, they strongly advised us that it was something we could capitalize on and we should be working on. So we undertook a series of studies that eventually led to our being registered with the UNFCCC, which is the vehicle that monitors all carbon credits and accepts them worldwide. These offset the production of greenhouse gases in developed countries. And it also performs another function which is extremely important. It gives a developing country the possibility to move away from the traditional fossil fuel-fired plants and to move into indigenous power, such as geothermal, which is an extremely big plus to a country like Nicaragua. Finally, we were registered in April of 2006. When we were registered, we became the 16th largest company so registered. And at that point in time, we were the first geothermal to ever be registered to sell CERs, which are carbon credits. We were the first, obviously, in Nicaragua, and we expect that when we are at a production of 200 megawatts, we will produce 1 million tons of carbon credits per year, which will again return us to one of the foremost producers of carbon credits worldwide. We have sold 100,000 carbon credits to date, and that was more or less to test the market. We are looking at selling a block of carbon credits from 2008 through 2012. And in this period of time, we will be producing well in excess of 1.5 million tons of carbon credits. We have offers on the table to purchase all of those credits from several different buyers who are recognized major industries or major trading companies worldwide.
At the moment, the attention, the early investment for carbon credits has been actually in industrial gases, HFC and N2O, and areas of landfill methane extraction. And I think renewable energy is coming in slightly behind that, but certainly geothermal is a very large potential area of renewable energy that will be generating carbon credits. And I think Polaris, having had the first geothermal project registered, are slightly ahead of the game in this. Some of the early projects that were done for carbon credits were these industrial gases. However, that market is really pretty much saturated now. And I think the potential for renewable energy is absolutely vast, and that while these projects have perhaps been started later than the industrial gases project, over time they're going to far outstrip the original industrial gases market for carbon credits.
It's a good idea to invest in geothermal in Nicaragua, because if you look at the world production today, there are 10,000 megas that are being produced. Nicaragua has the potential to produce 2,000 megas. So there is a strategy in the country at the present that calls for relying on renewable energy sources. We have a matrix of energy generation that is based on oil at the present. It's extremely expensive, so we need to move to hydroelectric and geothermal generation. So Polaris is part of the answer, it's part of the solution to that critical problem, which is to generate renewable energy which is cheaper than relying on oil at the present. The market is growing at a pace of about 6% a year. But the fact is 50% of our population does not have access to energy. So provided the distributor moves ahead, and it's precisely that what they are trying to do, this can move much more faster. So that's what we expect. The challenge for this country is to have a fuller coverage of electricity. Nicaragua it's interested in attracting direct foreign investment because it knows that it's a base for economic growth as well as for improving people's income. And in that context, it's been doing the kinds of things that investors call for. It's preserving macroeconomic stability. It has an IMF, International Monetary Fund support program. It has signed free trade agreements with several countries, including the US, and in the very near future with Canada. That provides guarantees to investors. And as well, it has a number of incentives to attract the investment in the energy sector at the present. No? So all of that makes for an appropriate investment climate. So Polaris in that sense feels very confident about the kind of support that will continue getting from the government in the future. Polaris is also committed to corporate social responsibility, so it has an impact in the community. And I believe it's also making a big contribution to a country which is in the process of increased growth and development and looking towards the external market to be more competitive. And in those respects, Polaris is making an important contribution.